Hello, Earth Angels. I'm here with Ed Spina, and after a wonderful meditation in the previous segment, we're gonna do a little Q&A here with the mystic and writer Ed Spina. Is that okay with you?
That'd be great.
Okay, so as I mentioned before, sometimes I go to Mount Shasta, a very mystical town in the Northern California, and what happens is once I enter the town, I kind of enter this synchronistic flow, and it's like suddenly you don't have to call anyone because you're gonna meet, everyone who you thought you would need to meet,
Right.
who wanted to meet. You're gonna go somewhere and you get the right piece of information. You're gonna hear about the workshop. And if you don't hear it for the first time, then you're going to meet 3 more people who are going to tell you that you should go there. It's like amazing. Every time I go to Mount Shasta, I feel like I'm in this synchronistic movie.
Mode, yeah.
So, and I know you like synchronicity too.
Right.
You can explain that?
Sure. Synchronicity is defined as a meaningful coincidence. It seems like a coincidence, but it has more than just by chance, but there's a meaning to it. And when in the mystic worldview, everything is one. All is one. There can never be anything outside of the one because there's only the one thing. And so if everything is one, everything obviously is connected, and there's everything by definition has to be related to everything else. So a synchronicity appears to you when your higher self and ultimately God is orchestrating your life to help you along a path, and when your physical body is cooperating and you're on that same path, then your physical body, you notice the synchronicities. And there's a couple things that usually make this happen, with the main thing being that you're totally in the present. You're not worried about some future event happening or some past event where you screwed up something or did something wrong. You're totally in the presence. And when you talked about going to Mount Shasta and entering this synchronistic mode, this happens pretty much whenever you travel. Because when you travel, you've broken the routine of what you are used to doing. It's like a man, when he wakes up, he'll shave the same side of his face, when he starts, and he'll do that for the next 60 years of his life. It's just a habit that's ingrained. If you work in an office, you'll take the same path to work every day. So you become virtually hypnotized as you go through your life. But when you travel, all of a sudden something new is happening. Your routine's been broken, so you're automatically more focused in the presence, and you notice it by not only are you focused in the present, but you expect that things are going to happen, and that's going to actually make them manifest even more readily. If you, like you said, if you want to know about I'll know if there's any good workshops coming out, and you go have tea at a certain shop, and there's a person there saying, "Oh man, you hear about this new workshop?" It's just automatically you're totally in the flow. And that's synchronicity.
So, but that's true that it helps if a person, as you said, is more anchored in the present time, right? That we don't worry about, oh my God, is it going to happen or not, right?
Right.
So you have to kind of trust. You do need to do something, right? Or not do anything.
Well, you want to be focused in the present. That's a fundamental way of living that you want to focus on. But that doesn't mean you never think about the future. You do think about the future. You know that next week you're going to Mount Shasta, or next week you're going to do a talk in front of a group of chiropractors or whatever it is that you're going to do. So you want to be prepared for that. But the only way you can be prepared is by acting in the present. Rehearsing your speech or writing your talk, or planning on what you're going to take when you pack to go to Mount Shasta, or whatever it is. You have to only by acting in the present can you affect the future. So that's the essence of it. You want to be in the presence.
Yeah, well, it's amazing. So, and then when I come back, it was an interesting thing. When I came back from Mount Shasta,
Right.
I was in a certain heightened state for about 2 weeks, and it felt like I'm in another world, and the synchronicity was still kind of happening and on wonderful things. and then I went lower and lower, and then it kind of.
Well, yeah. When you first came back, you were still in the present because again, it was new. Your what was a routine is no longer as routine. You had at least a new experience, a new way of approaching it. I know when I was a young businessman, I first moved to Florida, and I was traveling quite a bit for the company that I worked for. And I would be out of town, might be out of town for a week, and then at the end of the week I'd fly back to Fort Lauderdale. And every time I flew back was almost as if I was going on vacation, because it was still new enough that, from being in the Midwest or some more traditional environment, going back to the exotic location. Miami Vice was on the news and was on TV, and that whole rain-slicked palm tree, tropical environment was just very exotic, and I just felt like I was on vacation even when I was going home.
Wow, so it seems to me that it's almost important to travel and leave somewhere and come back in order to not to get stuck even in your life overall, right?
Right. Well, it's not necessary to travel, but if you're going to work, take a different path to work. Do something different. Don't eat at the same restaurant. Talk with different people. Vary your routine. You don't need to be doing the exact same thing, because that will, basically hypnotize you, and you won't be as. You can still be in the present, but it's easier when there's something new stimulating your senses.
Okay. Well, beautiful. So, is coincidence similar to?
Right. A synchronicity is a coincidence, but it is a meaningful coincidence.
Mm-hmm.
There's a joke. I don't know if this is appropriate, but someone says, 24 hours in a day, 24 bottles of beer and a case of beer. Coincidence? I think not. That's not a synchronicity. we're not making that connection.
Excuse, no?
But that's the point. That's the coincidence. It's not necessarily a synchronicity.
Mm-hmm. But I remember when Jerry and Esther Hicks, Abraham teaching, they were saying that if you want good things happen to you or come to you, if you want that synchronicity work perfectly for you, then you have to be, in that kind of a positive, at least slightly positive state of being, in order to allow those things to come to you, those things that you really desire.
Right. Yeah. When you get that jaundiced, nothing new under the sun, I'm bored, this and that, you're only bored because you decide you want to be bored.
Mm-hmm.
The real mystics, they can look at a flower and be hypnotized and captivated for hours.
Mm-hmm.
William Blake, you know the universe in a grain of sand. That's the real mystic, when you can see everything in the most mundane details of life.
Mm-hmm.
So
in other words, it is important to feel good, because the synchronicity and coincidences and the things that we really want, that our heart's desire, do come in a state of positivity.
Well, open.
Or
I think I would say
balance.
open, because if you say good or bad, you're describing some judgment to it, you're labeling it, and again, you're bringing it down from its pure essence.
Mm-hmm.
To be open to experiencing the world with the eyes of a baby. What is the teaching? You must be like a child to enter the kingdom of heaven.
Mm-hmm.
What are they talking about? The newness and freshness of looking at things, which is the hallmark of a child. That's what you want to emulate. Childlike, not childish.
Yes, because we as adults, we become very serious eventually, right? We start taking life very seriously, and we lose that innocence.
Innocence. Yeah, one of the most dangerous things is a little knowledge can be a dangerous thing, but in the sense that when the adult, or as your adult personality starts saying, "Oh, I already know that. Oh, now I've already seen that. I've been there, done that." That's automatically shutting off the possibility of newness and freshness entering your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's the advantage the child has, is that they don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see the world. They want to experience everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have that childlike attitude, that's the positive attitude I think you're talking about. When you have that childlike attitude, everything's going to be better.
Beautiful. I really enjoyed this. So be like little children, and see you in the next segment.